have to do my vocal warm-ups. Ram
Exactly.
ranch.
18 naked cowboys. 18 naked cowboys.
18
Naked.
Cowboys.
Cocks.
Well, hello and welcome to Culturally Illiterate, a podcast where friends overthink movies about cars and family and 18 naked cowboys, and I believe that at least a few birds have to be like fake and used for government surveillance. Like, I don't think all birds are fake, but you can't tell me that there's not some. Did I say I'm Jake?
No, I don't think you did. But
And I'm Jake.
Either way, I'm Jason. And if you're a football fan, my quarterback is more handsome than yours. It's objectively true.
Go birds!
Go birds!
Go birds!
And while we're at it, my running back is probably better looking than yours too.
Our quarterback is definitely better looking than
Top two wide receivers.
We're talking about looks. Right now.
I think they're both pretty.
Hey, look, they ain't half bad themselves.
They're not bad looking.
Slouches in the looks department.
But Jalen Hurts is on a different level, let's be honest.
Jalen Hurts looks like a model.
Exactly. Don't remember, he has pretty boy privilege.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So do you, buddy.
It will. Matt?
Oh, wait. Oh, it's my turn. Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Matt. And my fun fact is that the Eagles have been in the Super Bowl in the last 2 times in the last 3 years. So suck it, rest of the NFL. Fuck you. Especially the Cowboys. I hate you.
18 naked cowboys.
Valid.
Yeah, that's all the Cowboys are good at.
Being 18 and naked. Wait, what? Oh, wrong number to associate.
I don't think that the Cowboys were 18. I think there were 18 of them.
That's why I said the wrong thing. Hi, I'm Sean, and I like naked cowboys that are 18.
Jake, the audio's ruined now.
I think the audio is ruined. You don't think I'm keeping the cold open in, bitch?
Oh, cool.
18
Awesome.
naked cowboys.
I love this. You think I'm no fun?
What?
Well,
my fiance just laughed at that in the background.
If the glove,
Yeah, because she knows it's bullshit.
if the glove fits.
If the condom fits the fingers.
It's fine, but
You should have recorded
Sean.
that like session you were giving me about condoms and how you put 2 of them
Hey,
on.
Sean.
At all
Sean.
times.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Jason.
Why don't you put a condom on each one of your fingers and go fuck yourself?
With each individual finger.
Each individual finger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tie it off.
Knock yourself with their own fingers. I learned that from Sean, by the way.
Actually, first, I have to put 2 condoms on each finger, thank you very much, for the extra protection so that I don't get myself pregnant through my fingers.
Yeah, if you're a whore.
y'all are spirited tonight.
We need to remember safe sex is good.
So that you don't get pregnant and die.
So that you don't get pregnant and die. That sounds a little too real for the times.
Well, I was just quoting Mean Girls, so I don't
Yes.
know.
Do you guys have any
I'm not really
recs
sure
other than
anything
protected
you're talking
sex?
about. Yeah,
I recommend
Yeah,
getting
the
an Eagles
fuck I
jersey,
do.
especially those Kelly Greens.
I have mine right by me. Well, my
I have
Kelly
mine
Green
too.
is somewhere else, but my Jalen Hurts one in Midnight Green is right here.
My
I want to
Jalen
get
Hurts
another
Kelly
one
Green's
too.
right
I
over
want to
there.
get I want to get one of the ones with the Super Bowl patches on it, but I don't know who, because I want to get Quinyon, but I couldn't find any online. So I might look in a real store.
I do have
Maybe
an
I'll
actual
get
rec.
CJ. I have a rec too.
I also have a rec. So fuck
mine-
I
you all.
recommend saying them.
All right, I guess I'll go
No,
first.
we're just gonna say that we have them and we're
Okay,
not
no.
going-
Here's what we do. We all say it at the same time.
Okay.
And so here's the thing. Whoever, right, if you can't make any of our recommendations out, it's your fault. All right. 3, 2, 1. I recommend
Ram
Marvel Rivals
Ranch.
if you have like
It's a
no
really good
life,
game.
especially with all these like hero shooters.
So yeah.
There we go.
I got-
That's it.
I got Sean's and I got Matt's, and Sean's wasn't serious.
My serious one is Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. It's very fun. Play it.
Matt's was Marvel Rivals, right?
Yes, it was Marvel Rivals. If you
Free
have
play.
no life, and especially if you're unemployed, it's perfect for you.
Now,
Casey should get it.
No. When I recommended it to Casey, he said to me, would I get angry at it? And I thought for it for like 2 seconds. I'm like, yeah,
The
you
answer
would.
is yes. The answer is yes.
Jason, what was yours? Because yours I may actually be interested in.
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine's a band called Big Ass Truck.
What?
I fucking love this.
They're just a nasty beat down hardcore. Let me see if I can find this guy Greg Hall tweeted about them, and I follow
Greg
him
Hall
on Twitter.
is his last name spelled Haul?
No,
Ooh.
I don't mean to cut,
but
but
he
while
tweeted.
Jason's looking for that band, I also have a music recommendation. So Sean knows them because I played it during our car ride. So there's this album called No Hands by Joey Valance and Bray. It is basically like a modern day Beastie Boys if they were nerds and
Oh,
millennials.
I'm in.
They rap about Overwatch, and they also rap about Ben 10.
Oh, I'm so
my
They
in.
God.
have a
Fucking Ben
song
10 one was
called
hilarious.
Omnitrix. They also drop a Danny Phantom bar.
I'm so in. That sounds
I'll
right
link
up
it.
my
I'll link
alley.
you guys to it.
Yeah, you
When
gotta
Jason
see
was a
that.
kid, they
But
had
it's legitimately good. It's a
signature dance to
legitimately
the
good
Danny
album.
Phantom theme.
Oh yeah, I
Jason,
did have a
They
signature
even
dance
have a
to the Danny
feature
Phantom
from
theme.
they even have a feature from Danny Brown.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's called Pack a
That's
Punch.
the perfect person to feature on something like that.
Exactly. Like it's basically like listening to like a modern day Beastie Boys, and it scratches that itch.
So yeah, so the way that Greg Hall, this guy on Twitter that I followed, described a Big Ass Truck is ignorant, all caps, beat down hardcore, and that's pretty much what it is. It does what it says on the can. They just rock, man. They just fuck. They get it done.
They just fuck.
So yeah, just cool sounding hardcore music. It's sick. I love it. It's what I live for. They're called Big Ass Truck. What more do you need?
Earlier, when you said Big Ass Truck, I was like, is this country?
No,
Is this country?
no, it's not.
Up under the seat of my big black
jacked up catfish
Catfish
dinner.
Yeah, they're
I still
one
haven't
Big
seen
Ass Truck.
the origins of that song.
They have a song called Big Ass Truck, and their demo is titled Big Ass Demo.
Any relation to Optimus Prime?
Unsure, still researching. So yeah, but they sound so sick. So yeah, that's all I got about them. They sound sick. They're called Big Ass Truck.
Awesome.
I got a couple recs that kind of accidentally follow a theme that I'm quite happy with. I recently got, so this one's gonna be kind of hard to track down. It's from a publisher called Bad Idea that makes their shit like really hard to find, but I recently got the hardcover for this book they did called The Ends off of Kickstarter. If you can find a way to read The Ends, it is an absolute masterpiece from husband and wife David and Maria Lapham about it's kind of like a play on like 70s exploitation films and about World War II vets in the 70s fighting neo-Nazis in a beach town, and also there's like a romantic plot to it. Really good. I also recently read through the first Hellboy Omni, which if you've never read any Hellboy, and I hadn't really, I'd only seen the movies, that is largely also about fighting Nazis. absolute
Yay.
masterpiece. Really, if you just Google Hellboy reading order, it's really easy to find. Really great reading orders. Mike Mignola. I apologize. I was unfamiliar with his game. And then also, I recently started watching the 70s Wonder Woman show with Linda Carter, which also is predominantly about Wonder Woman fighting Nazis. So all good things, all good morals, and Linda Carter, easily hands down the best person to ever play that role.
Man, hopefully one day people will be able to, like finally overtake like these old oh my gosh, what's the word I was looking for? I keep losing the word as soon as I want to say it. Portrayals of these old portrayals of like beloved superheroes like Wonder Woman and Superman. Hopefully this new Superman
There's
will be
been some
close
good
enough,
modern
though.
Superman.
Huh?
There's been some good modern Superman.
I know, but like compared to like what Christopher Reeves was able to pull off, like, come on, it's good. I'm not saying it's nothing against
Tyler Hoechlin on the CW. I shit you not, is my favorite.
Really, I did hear good things about Superman and Lois, so I will give that a try one day.
Yeah, you can watch it, and you can watch it in isolation from all the other stuff. There's like a couple of references, maybe, but it's not like you need to see seasons upon seasons of television for it.
Now, here's the question: does it actually end on the good note?
Yeah, they knew that they were ending, so it actually gets a proper finish.
Yes. Okay, fine, I'll watch it.
They weren't canceled out. Like some of those other shows got canceled out of the blue, so they don't actually have a proper ending. But that one, they had planned to run it for like 7 seasons. They got canceled after 4, but they wrote the 4th season knowing it was their last.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was my like biggest fear, and why I still haven't watched Superman Lois is because it's the CW, and I'm like,
yeah, it's all done now. There's 4 seasons out there. I really enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah, because Arrow kind of scarred me. Seeing like how like nosedive and
sucked at the end.
Fell off.
I know, dude.
Not
like,
even
I couldn't finish
at the end,
it because
like,
of how bad it was. Dude, I couldn't finish it. I'm like, oh my god, what happened to the show? The first 2 seasons were amazing, and then it's just since season 3, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I've watched every single episode of DC television on the CW, and the quality varies.
It's like first 2 seasons of Arrow, the first like 2 seasons of The Flash, I'm pretty sure.
It's like every other season of Legend of Tomorrow is good, and then every other season sucks.
That's the thing I've heard. Is like Legend of Tomorrow is so up and down.
There's one like amazing season of Supergirl. I don't know.
I don't want after like the first season, and then after like everyone bashed the CGI or something.
Wasn't Stargirl supposed to be really good?
Stargirl's really good. Stargirl's really good from start to finish. That one started out as a DC Universe original when that platform existed. Naomi was bad. Black Lightning was solid for the most part. Anyway, do you guys want to get into our topic for the day?
No.
No? Okay. I guess that's it. Follow us at @illiterate_pod. Jason will plug the music. Jason wasn't paying attention.
I guess so. I kind of zoned out there. I wasn't really listening to you guys.
Actually, though, we're talking about presumably, got to be the least known installment of the Fast and Furious saga, Better Luck Tomorrow, which is like genuinely, it's an indie movie.
Related.
Yeah, so it was an indie movie from writer, director, editor Justin Lin, as well as his co-writers Ernesto Ferranda and Fabian Marquez, and shot by Patrice Lucien Cochet, starring Perry Shen as Ben Manabag, Jason Tobin as Virgil Hu, Sung Kang as Han Lu, or also his alias Han Sol-O, Carrie Ann Chung as Stephanie Vandergosh, Roger Fan as Derek Liu, and John Cho as Steve Cho. So the reason it's related is Justin Lin ends up going on to direct several Fast and Furious movies, and he really liked the character of Han from his directorial debut, I believe, and as well as working with the actor who played Han. So he just wrote Sung Kang into the first Fast movie he directed, Tokyo Drift, the third one, and Han became a reoccurring character. So this just kind of became an accepted part of the Fast canon. Is kind of like a Han origin. But if you don't have any interest in Fast stuff, you can just watch this. It's just its own thing. They happen to just take the character.
It's actually tonally and content-wise completely fucking different, and I'm not even joking. So,
Oh yeah,
it's, if you're not into the fast cars and weird shit that we love, you might like this one. I don't know.
The only thing that I say that seems pretty similar across these two is Han's character being like somewhat pretty similar.
I would say some of
consistent.
the
Like it's
humor,
the same character.
like
Yeah, because it's like the
humor's
same
not-
character.
the humor's not as like over the top, obviously, as it is in Fast, but I would say like the style of humor is similar in this,
Although,
as in some of the Fast movies.
so kind
I'm sure there's
of toned
directorial
down, of
tendencies you
course,
could
for like
spot
the
if you know that
PG-13
better than
rating.
us.
What'd you say?
Oh, I should say, although it's pretty toned down because of the the PG-13 rating.
Yeah, versus this is a pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say
Well-
it's a super hard R, but
Well, and that's the thing.
Oh, it's not a
like,
super hard R, but
it's
like,
more over the
pretty
top.
definitively are.
yeah.
It's
They cite
more
fuck
over
more
the
than once.
top in Fast and Furious humor wise, but it's more aggressive and vulgar in this.
That's a good way of putting it.
Definitely. The
Watch it.
movie starts. Sorry, were you gonna say something, Matt?
I was just gonna say, like, when I was first watching this movie, I just kind of forgot this was connected to Fast and Furious, and then like only when like, especially like in the middle of the movie, and only when Han pops on, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, this is part of Fast and Furious. It's just kind of like one of those movies because it's so down to earth. It's so
almost
self-contained. I'm like, wait, this is a Fast and Furious?
Yeah, and like because you know Han more for the Fast and Furious movies, it almost feels like fan fiction. Like,
Yeah,
this character
like some
is just
gritty
in a
retelling of Han's
completely-
origin.
Exactly, like this character is just completely in a different setting entirely, with different characters.
This was
Yeah,
my
let's-
introduction.
Yeah,
let's
give
him an
edgy cousin.
Chronologically, yeah, this is first, but was released after the original Fast, before any of the others. It starts. It's a really good kind of like cold open of sorts too, with an opening with Ben and Virgil are like relaxing outdoors in a backyard on some lawn chairs, and they start hearing a phone ring or a beeper go off because it's like 2002, and they're trying to find it, and they realize it's coming from underground, so they start digging, and you see it's coming from a dead body, and then the movie jumps back and does a bit of a flashback. But I remember the first time I watched it, that kind of immediately locked me in. It's a pretty standard move to do the like, how did we get here? Not literal
I
in
bet
this
you're
case, but like
wondering.
record scratch. But it,
I bet you're wondering how I
how
got
did these
here.
high school kids get a
That's
body
me.
in their backyard?
Yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got this body in my backyard.
I mean, do you guys have the same experience though? Like I've watched this a few times, and I kind of always forget that that's how it opens. And even knowing how we get to the dead body, it still rehooks me.
Yeah, it is a pretty hooking intro. Yes,
Every time I see Virgil on screen, I just get so happy. I love Virgil.
I love Virgil so much. He's the heart and soul of this film.
Yeah, Jason Tobin is fantastic, and the whole
He
cast
really-
really is.
he
But Jason
kills it.
Tobin is definitely
Kills
a
it.
scene stealer.
He's just so like his character's such a little dickhead, and he's so good at being that little dickhead. It's so funny, but yeah, the introduction's good. I forgot how it started because I don't know if I've watched this since the first time I watched it, to be honest. I remembered it pretty well, but I didn't really remember how it started necessarily. Um, and I mean, it starts how it ends. You know, spoilers, I guess.
So true. Yeah, so like the main plot of it, once you get through as we enter the flashback, is Ben, the main character, is a stereotypical overachieving Asian American in a wealthy Orange County suburb whose goals are to make his high school basketball team, get with his cheerleader crush Stephanie, and to get into an Ivy League university. He's a perfectionist, which masks another side of his life, like toilet papering houses with his best friend Virgil, or engaging in petty crime with Virgil's cousin, the aforementioned Han. Petty crime being returning recently stealing stuff from electronic stores and then returning it for money. I don't know why you wouldn't. You could also just keep the electronics. Anyway, oh, there's another fast tie-in, stolen DVD players. Maybe that's the canon Han.
Yeah, they could just keep them or just sell them. Like,
yeah, I feel like you could
take it
probably
back
be
to
easier
the
to.
place where you sold.
You can't expect high school students to be smart.
Yeah, but that almost seems like they're like outsmarting themselves in a sense. Like they're trying to be smarter than they need to be, and in effect being dumb. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I was dumber than them in high. Well, I don't know if I was dumber than them. They do some dumb shit in this movie. I'm dumber than them at the start of this. So Ben makes the basketball team, but ends up being mostly a bench warmer. Through Derek Liu, who is the senior valedictorian and president of almost every student club, Ben gets involved in a school-wide cheat sheet operation. Derek pays Jesus, another student, to steal tests from the school office, and then Ben uses those to make cheat sheets, which are then sold off to students. Ben brings Virgil and Han into the racket, and the four of them make a small fortune. Meanwhile, Ben finds himself competing with Steve Cho, a private school student and Stephanie's boyfriend, for Stephanie's affections. Steve discovers Ben's crush and offers to let him take Stephanie to winter formal, as Steve has no real interest in many of his responsibilities as her boyfriend. The group's activities gradually escalate into more dangerous crimes, such as theft of I miswrote something here. It says the theft of children from the school. Did Sean mess with this? Or did I miswrite something? I don't even know. Sean's laughing, so I feel like he messed with what the fuck did it originally say.
To be fair, he could be laughing just because that's.
What the fuck did it say, Sean? They don't steal children. I need to know.
Sean.
The fuck he's not telling us. Okay, one second. I gotta figure this out. I don't remember what they steal.
They're like stealing computer parts because they go to like what is it? They go into the store and then they start buying up all the parts and then they go and return them all.
No, they got. I think they. Oh, the beginning. Yeah. Never mind.
But what the fuck?
The theft of children.
I mean, did they or did they not steal children? We don't know.
No, they steal computer parts and sell drugs. They do not do anything with children. They are children. They're all under 18, except maybe Derek. Because he's a senior.
They steal the life of a child.
They don't say how old Han is either. He's still in high school.
Yeah, he's older.
He's supposed to be older.
Okay, well, fine, but they don't steal children. So where were we? That was a good one. That was his best work. They escalate into more dangerous crimes, such as the theft of the computer parts from the school and selling drugs. They become drug users themselves, with Ben developing a heavy cocaine habit, feeling increasingly conflicted by the expectations others have of him, and horrified after waking up with a nosebleed due to heavy cocaine usage. Ben decides to quit the group. He resumes his academic pursuits and begins spending more time with Stephanie. He eventually asks her to the formal, which she accepts. Pausing there. I mean, there's kind of a lot that's covered there. I think in general the movie's pretty breezy. pretty effective use of like montages showing their partying. But I don't think that summary really captures actually like how kind of they start like renting out hotel room. They get with hookers, like they're pretty out of control, and they're all supposed to be like 16 to maybe Han's 19 at most.
Yeah, they also mention how they're like terrifying everybody else in the school because everybody's hearing rumors about all the shit that they're doing.
Yeah,
but they don't get in trouble for it.
They pull. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if we're at that point yet, but like they pull like what was his name? Derek pulls a gun on one of like the football kids because like the sweater he was wearing. And then he starts threatening to shoot him in the head, and it's just beating the crap out of him. And Virgil starts going in and kicking him while the guy is down. Do you remember this?
Dear God, wait, no, that scene's fucking hilarious because you have Virgil behind Derek just going, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face,
shoot him in the face. And then he like kicked him in the ground. And he's looking at Ben. He's like, "Come on, Ben, get in on this, kicking the guy down."
And directly after that, it was so funny because you have them all in the car and they're all horrified by what they just did because it's like the first time they've actually done something like that where they could potentially go to like that's the first thing they do where it's like really obvious where they could go to jail for that if somebody tells the cops. And so they're all expecting to go to jail. And Virgil's just sitting in the back just so excited because he kicked the shit out of this one kid.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, everybody's going to know. And then
he keeps flip-flopping between being super excited that he kicked a guy's like stomach and also like, oh my God, my dad's going to kill me, and he starts crying in the backseat of the
car. One thing that it also didn't touch on in that summary that I wanted to bring up is the unnecessary basketball subplot. Like,
I don't like that?
No, I loved it. Actually,
I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like it's like thematic.
It is thematic. Like
it's just funny because it's like there's a whole arc in the beginning of the film of it's Derek, right?
Derek. No,
like,
not Derek.
Derek's the valedictorian who gets them started.
Yeah, it's Ben.
Oh no! But the guy, the editor for the Derek's the editor.
That's also
paper,
Derek.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. So Derek like goes to Ben and tries to like. He basically writes an article about Ben being the token Asian on the basketball team, which is just like that's not that funny. It's just like kind of a. I don't know. Imagining that being like in the school paper is just kind of silly to me. Like, the coach won't play the token Asian on the team because he only put him on the team because he's Asian. I don't know. It just doesn't. Imagining high schoolers write about that for the school paper is really funny to me.
Oh yeah, because Derek has a clear angle at it too, since it's like pretty well established that Ben's also just like not that good. Like he was genuinely good enough to make the team, but he's also the worst guy on it.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at him. He's short, doesn't look all that physical. You know, can't imagine he's the best ball player.
I just think it's like it just kind of like hammers the point where like. He can't it perceives that he can't accomplish his goals through like more legitimate means, you know, like getting the girl.
Right.
Like, you know, he can't impress Stephanie on the basketball team because he will never get playing time because he's the token minority, or token Asian guy on the basketball team. And so that's what drives him to, you know, like to do like more illegal stuff. It's because that's just a way of getting more power.
Yeah, for
at least
sure.
that was my interpretation of it.
For sure. No, for sure. I agree. It's just like, I think that in the moment of watching it, it feels so like kind of disconnected.
Yeah.
From like the basis of the movie, that it just kind of feels like a random meet cute for Derek and Ben to like start talking to each other.
I know thematically it makes sense, of course, in the movie. I just find it funny that like it happens. He's like, the whole thing is like in the beginning he mentions that he's trying to like improve his ratio to get And then he like makes it on the team and everything, and then immediately after the article comes out, he just quits and is like, "Nope,
Yeah,
not anymore." And then
that's what I mean. Like
I know
it's not like a recurring thing, and I get the theme that it sets and the tones that it helps add. But it's just funny because, like you said, like he quits and then it's never brought up again, so it just kind of feels like an unnecessary basketball subplot.
I mean, I know what you mean, but I like what Matt said in terms of like comparing it to him getting what Matt said about him getting everything semi-legitimately. Because when the movie starts out, or at least the not counting the opening with the dead body, he's a genuinely really smart guy who's semi-athletic and semi-charming, and he's like a decent-looking guy. Nothing's really, but the expectations and the perfectionism are so stressful and high that you get to a point where like he is genuinely smart, but also he's achieving these academic things because he's cheating and using drugs to stay up and study longer. And he goes on dates with Stephanie, but he only goes on dates with Stephanie through her boyfriend not giving a fuck about her and being like, yeah, sure, take her to formal. And then the basketball is just another, like, I think he genuinely, like, I don't think he was actually put on the team to be a quote unquote token minority. But yeah, Derek writes that article, which gets him minutes, but he doesn't actually earn those minutes because it's just kind of a pressure that's put on the coach. And then he doesn't even he starts to feel all this resentment for the things that he's always wanted now that he's getting them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I definitely get that. Like, although I feel like it's not like he was always like, like he wasn't really like doing these things like for profit, at least at first. He was just like venting his stress and frustration on, well, essentially were like pranks at first, although like you could argue it was maybe not as like harmless as it seems. Like he was like, you see him like TP in a house as like him narrating is like one of the ways like he gets out of this like perfectionist role that he's in at school. But then he still studies hard. Like he was like studying for the SAT, and he was studying and memorizing like all like the words that will show up on the SAT, so he won't get confused by them or something like that. He's like very much like a smart kid. He makes sure he works very hard for it. Like it shows in his basketball routine. Like he's not that good, but he tries very hard. Like he writes down like every day like how many free throws he makes, and then he tries to make his goal of like 90%. But then, like he gets a taste of the other side through Derek, and then it just kind of like snowballs out of control because you get a taste of power, and then he said like you get greedy, and then it snowballs into stealing computer parts from your school.
But also taking that further just into the situation that like to a degree I also like that you can kind of like sympathize with Ben as a character too, because it's the whole thing of he's being put to these high standards because of the whole model minority stuff, and that being like a lot of the pressure that gets put on him. Not just you don't really see any of it from his parents or like anything like that, because you don't really get any of that. A lot of those pressures and those outward pressures come from seemingly his peers and those around him, and everything during high school too. So it's like really just like it's something to empathize with, and it just I like that part of this and getting to it doesn't, despite everything that they go through and the depth that things get worse and worse, it's something like you can kind of like sympathize with the character over this whole situation that they're in, because it's just frustrating for them, and it's just as frustrating to see them go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Come to think of it, do we ever see any parents in this movie?
No.
They talk about them, but
Yeah,
every single kid that has like an adult figure, the adult is either out somewhere, like with Steve's parents, they're just gone from his house when they're going to like when he's like planning the whole plot against his parents, and then like you never see Ben's parents at all, and they're never referenced really.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
it-
only time that like parents or guardians are ever referenced to my recollection is when people are saying like, "Oh, my parents just left for the weekend" or whatever. Like, you know what I like?
Yeah, it's always that
Like
they're
Ben would be saying in the narration, like, "Oh, his parents had just left," or
That's exactly what I was gonna say, because like the one like parental figures that I've heard referenced the most is Derek's parents, is because they're never home, and that's why they pull like all these parties at his house.
right.
But they are never present. Like no parental figure is present.
which I think from a standpoint it's interesting to I never really like caught down onto that like a whole lot other than like
Yeah.
knowing that the parents don't really show up, but it's interesting to see that like all of this isn't coming from a parental
Even-
perspective, it's all coming from like outwardly a societal perspective of everything
and-
on them.
Even like to like a step further first for a like school-centered movie like that takes place with high school students and very much is set in a school in a lot of scenes. There's not a lot of like teachers or anything in the film either.
I think you only see two, and one of them is the coach.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the coach briefly is in it, but
And then
like,
another one is like one teacher in the beginning who
Right.
asks Stephanie to sit next to Ben.
right. But other than that, like, there's no real like adults in this movie, really. Actually, like in meaningful roles, at least.
Yeah, I genuinely had never like. I think this is probably like the fourth time I've watched this movie. I don't know if that ever like properly registered to me. I mean, your rule of thumb whenever you talk about any work is that everything's deliberate. Off the top of my head, like the first kind of vibe I get for like the decision to basically the bare minimum feature any adult authority figures is I think it does kind of show the distance between the kids and their parents or teachers or any other kind of real authority. They have this constant pressure on them, and it's something that's felt really all throughout the movie, and it's of course going to come from parents. Anybody who's gotten through high school has felt some degree of pressure from parents, but also from themselves, from their peers, from society at large. But I feel like it shows this weird, like, the pressure's put on them, and Ben is striving for so many of these lofty goals, but he's not getting any kind of real support there. Like, he has his friends who are all kind of becoming bad influences for each other, including himself on them, but there's never a point, like, he has no real connection to his parents. I'm lucky in that I can't myself. I don't know. I have to imagine that when Justin Lin and his collaborators worked on this movie, I mean, that is something that they experienced as, like first generation Americans, like the characters are. If anyone listening doesn't know, I am white as hell, or at least as most of the populace of hell. And so I don't know. I can't speak directly to that, and I'm lucky that I had two parents that were both very appropriately active in my life. But that's my first like gut read on the decision to not show any of them. That it's just like because they're just not in all their presence for these people's lives is just the pressure, nothing else.
Yeah, and I think it definitely that, and just in general showing like that they're out of their depth. They're not like properly looked out for clearly, because they're able to do all of these things right under the noses of anyone in their life who are apparently clearly absent all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just kind of in general, like everything that Jake said, I agree with, but also, you know, just more of a general point, also just to show them, you know, their disconnect from any kind of consequence or reality.
I think it totally adds as well to the idea that you're seeing this like hidden life, this alternate side of things. Like, naturally speaking, the parents would not be involved when they're doing cocaine and paying for sex and selling drugs and buying guns, and Virgil's telling people to shoot people in the face.
Shoot in the face!
Spinning a gun around in his tighty whities.
Virgil getting the fucking gun at the beach is still the funniest thing to me, because when he has the gun and they're all under the boardwalk after they're cleaning everything up, and this is after Ben has he's bleeding from the nose and he decides to stop doing cocaine.
Ain't that always how it goes?
When they gave him a gun for his birthday, which is insane, but then also like Virgil takes the gun and then starts spinning it around underneath the boardwalk, and
he has
all of them
gun.
run
he
away.
Has his
and
own
like,
gun. He was like, fucking awesome, right? And he pulls it out, and he starts flipping it around. Everyone's like, oh my fucking god, and started running from him because he's waving a gun around while he's going like, pew, 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 pew.
And then he just keeps doing it after they leave.
Surprise, most people don't like it when you brandish a weapon.
Oh, I love Virgil.
Virgil's so fucking funny, dude.
I know.
I like, what is it? The one scene where, is it Han just fucking
wailing on him?
Beating the
wails on Virgil.
Yeah. When things start going really rough for them.
In the fucking, like, corner of the frame. Oh my god.
Virgil like fucks over Han some way at some point. I can't even remember what it is, and there's just a scene with no dialogue and just like that. I think it's just Ben's narration and some music while Han just takes his belt off and like whips Virgil.
Han's whipping the shit Han's whipping the shit out of him because Virgil and Han were the only two people left in the group, and it was when they were still doing the cheat sheets. And Han got caught because Virgil couldn't keep his mouth shut. So Han just starts beating the shit out of him.
Fucking whooping his ass.
I know. He got suspended, and my favorite... I know.
Smokes a cigarette.
I know. My favorite part is during the narration, Ben says that Han didn't seem to mind getting suspended, but he just wanted an excuse to beat the shit out of Virgil.
I remember, like, when I watched that for the first time with Sean and Jake, and just fucking cracking up at that, because I was like, that's cinema right there.
That's so real, because like
that's what I watch movies for.
I don't think any of our high school experiences were, a 50th as wild as these guys, but we all knew a Virgil who was like annoying as fuck, but kind of fun, so you kept them around. But like we're all sitting here talking about how much we love Virgil in this movie. But he would piss you the fuck off if you actually had to be Virgil's friend.
Well, no, like that's exactly it. I think it wasn't like the beginning of the film. Ben compared Virgil to like a puppy that you forgive for all its messes, because you even despite like all like the struggles he puts you through, you love him anyway, or something like that.
Yeah,
you like compared him to a puppy.
There's definitely a line along those lines, and it's
kind of like you just keep telling yourself he doesn't know better.
Exactly.
It's
Not just imagine
like,
that puppy encouraging someone to shoot someone else in the face and then waving a gun around.
Yeah, like everyone's known someone that you have to just go, oh, that's just Virgil. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Like,
that's exactly it. It's perfect. Yeah, like Virgil really does like take it away, but I like how like he loves putting on like a tough guy facade. Like when Derek and Ben were talking about how they they don't want to do it anymore. Like Ben was like, I'm getting too much into this, I want out. And Derek was like, yeah, this is becoming like a full-time job. He was like, what are you, like fucking pussies? More money for me and Dan then. No, me and Han then. Like he loves like having
Matt
power.
Just whitewashed this movie.
Yeah, I know.
That
It'll be in the
one
Better
Asian
Luck Tomorrow
host just
remake. Don't worry.
whitewashed Han.
Don't worry. It'll be in a remake. It'll be in a remake. And like as soon as like he's put in like a situation, like a dangerous situation, should we talk about the ending or is it too soon?
I mean, I don't care. I can
Matt
always
wants
read
you
through
to
the rest of
move
the plot
the
if you
fuck
want
on.
me to, but if
Oh
you
yeah,
jump
yeah.
ahead, like I don't care.
Let's do that. Yeah, because I was about to go ahead, so I'll hold on to that. I'll hold on to that. And I'll get until we get
All
there.
right, if you say so. I don't care either way. You can always interject when I'm reading this stuff with thoughts too. So yeah, the winter formal dance happens, and Ben ends up lured back into the life of crime when Steve meets with him and tells him he has info on a possible like really big score. The group's stunned to learn that Steve wants them to rob his parents' house. These are again parents that we never see. Though Ben and Han are initially against it, Derek convinces the group it would be a perfect opportunity to teach Steve a lesson. On New Year's Eve, the four meet with Steve at Jesus' house under the pretense of preparing for the robbery of Steve's parents. But Derek, Virgil, and Han begin attacking Steve while Ben keeps watch outside. In the ensuing struggle, Steve gets Virgil's gun, which goes off. Ben runs in, hearing the gunshot, and seeing the gun in Steve's hands, beats Steve with the baseball bat. The group convinces Jesus to bury, I almost said Jesus, to bury the body in his backyard for $300, which, like, Jesus, man, you gotta negotiate better. These people are burying a murdered body, and you got $300?
I was gonna talk about that too. $300 for burying a dead body in your backyard. Come on, man.
That's not
That
enough.
doesn't even make sense when calculating inflation. Like this.
I also like, you know what
I
I was
don't think
thinking?
Jesus was thinking about inflation, Matt.
You know what I was thinking about during that scene too is like, so there he's like, oh, I only have this much. I can give you the rest of the money tomorrow or something. And he's like, no, pay me now. But like, I mean, I don't know. I think that I would trust the guy that I'm burying a body for to pay me, because otherwise I can just tell the police that he tried to pay me to bury a body.
In case
You know?
anyone's wondering, I did the inflation calculator. $300. This movie came out in 2002. $300 in 2002 is $526.30.
That's still
I don't know
nothing.
about the rest of you, but like, let's do a
body.
quick poll. If someone said, I will give you $526.30 to bury a body in your backyard, I'm saying no.
That's just a hard no.
But I could get more as a reward for turning you in.
How big's the body?
How big's the
The
body?
size of, the size of Steve's. Someone has murdered John Cho, the actor who played Steve Cho. They offer you approximately $530 to bury his body in your yard.
Now, what I'm gonna ask is where's Kumar?
Fuck you.
Can we talk about me and Matt were talking about this off mic before y'all got here, but can we talk about it real quick? John Cho looks the same.
Yeah, he does.
All of this cast has aged well, but he looks like, but they all look older. They aged well, but older. He looks the same.
He's always looked the same.
I liked him as Spike Spiegel, even though the Cowboy Bebop show sucked balls. But like, I can't not look at him and see like I kept thinking of
fucking language to me.
Yeah, Japanese.
Spike Spiegel.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy.
Shoot him in the face.
Shoot him in the face. But I can't help but think of Cowboy Bebop every time I see him, and then I think of all the terrible like lines from that show. And
I refuse to watch it. I refuse to watch it.
My favorite line from that show was something along the lines of "You've never lived until you've had a man's balls in your mouth," and it was like the weirdest fucking thing.
I can get behind that.
I have to find this.
Maybe he's the show for the queers.
You're behind it. The balls are in your mouth.
Yeah, maybe it was just a show for the queers. Shout out to all the queers.
That was Rick Ross. Shout out to all the pair.
That was Fred Durst saying shout out to the queers.
Shout out to all the pair. Shout out to all the pair.
Shout out to all the pair.
All right. While Sean's busy looking at Cowboy Bebop lines, continue
I'm
with
gonna
the
find-
plot.
Okay, so Jesus agrees for $300, which again, like what top of your head?
Jesus is cheap
I
ass.
want to circle back. Top of your head, how much would someone have to pay you to hide a body
$1
in your backyard?
million. I'm not
A
even
murdered
kidding.
body. A
$1
million?
million.
Yeah, I think I'd have to cross. It would have to be life-changing money.
I found the quote now.
I'm going 5 mil.
5
I would
mil?
go. I think that would be good. 5 mil. 5 years.
5 years?
5 mil. They could pay out the 5 mil in installments over 5 years.
5 years?
No, honestly, maybe I'm the Jesus of this group. I was gonna say 750,000. I mean,
No.
And I knew Jason was going to be the lowest. I knew it.
I almost said 75,000 just now, and
You have to pay me enough that if I get caught for this, I can at least bail myself out and still have something left over.
And a real good fucking lawyer.
And a real good fucking lawyer.
And speaking,
Also,
to give my lawyer something to work with here, this is all a joke.
I found the Cowboy Bebop quote, and this is fucking, I love it so much. It's, "You'll never know true power until you've tasted the testicles of a man who has wronged you."
Oh, I've heard that before.
And it was because I think it was the guy was like a serial killer or something, and he like cooks the ball sack of a guy he like did something wrong to him, and it's the fucking weirdest line.
These are not lines in the original anime.
No, but it's lines in the Netflix show, and I love it to death.
Yeah, you do.
Not the show, but the line.
So they go to bury after Jesus' historically bad marketing. They go to bury Steve's body, but he begins to twitch, revealing he's still alive. So then Derek suffocates Steve with a gasoline-soaked rag while a tearful Virgil holds his arms back. Afterwards, the four go back to the New Year's Eve party where Ben and Stephanie then kiss at midnight, which is so out of pocket for Ben. Murder your boyfriend, kiss you at midnight. The next day, while cleaning up after the aftermath of the murder, Ben and Virgil hear Steve's phone. We're now back at where we opened with in the movie, under the ground in Jesus' backyard. They dig it up and learn it was a call from Stephanie. Ben debates on whether or not to report the murder to the police. The guilt over Steve's murder becomes too much for Virgil, who attempts suicide but fails, potentially suffering brain damage. Derek, he invites, I believe it's Han, he invites over to watch a new porn.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want to kill himself alone.
And that's my favorite line in the entire film is Ben dramatically narrating. Virgil had invited Han over to watch some new porn.
That's your favorite line behind like the saddest part of the movie for my money.
But it's like
Virgil's fucked up as he is also like
better.
weirdly the most innocent.
That's
He's
what
like
makes it even crazier is like it's like one of the most heartfelt moments of the film, and meanwhile Ben's going, Virgil had invited Han over to watch some new porn.
I mean, Virgil was Virgil till his near end. So yeah, suicide attempt fails. Seems like he may have brain damage. Post failed attempt. He may have had some beforehand, honestly. Derek expresses concern about Han or Virgil reporting the murder, but Ben simply resolves to do nothing and walks away. At the end of the film, Ben is shown alone. He encounters Stephanie one day on the way home, and she asks him if he'd seen Steve lately, expressing concern that he has not called. They kiss, implying the resumption of their relationship. Ben's voiceover then tells the audience that he has no idea what the future holds, but all he knows is there's no turning back. And that is the end of Better Luck Tomorrow. So I guess that brings us to whatever Matt wanted to talk about in regards to the ending.
So I want to talk about like Virgil again, like about like I was going to bring up the fact that like even though he is seemingly the most violent member out of everyone in the group, he is actually like the most like childish, because the only thing he does is just like, you know, like verbally encourage these violent acts. And only threat, and he does threaten people with, you know, a lethal weapon like the prostitute, but I don't think he even like threatens to shoot his own cousin with it. But then with actually like having to help, kill somebody, he's like bawling his eyes out.
Yeah,
And
that's the
just
thing.
yeah, like and that just shows me just like
Sorry.
yeah, like he's just like it's all an act. Like it's just like a
Yeah.
facade.
That's you put it a good way when you said like he's the most childish one, because it's like the way in which he goes about all of those things. Like, yeah, he does threaten violence plenty and all that, but it's always kind of like it always feels like he's just doing it because he doesn't fully grasp how serious that is. You know what I mean? And like a person died and he has to deal with that. It fully set in how serious it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like his behavior's still bad, but I don't actually believe he would ever harm someone other than when he harms himself. Like there's like the whole he pulled the gun on the hooker, but I think it's just him thinking it's like cool and kinky. Like I don't think he ever intends to shoot her. When he points the gun, like I really don't.
Yeah, like
He's just trying to fit
I
in.
think that was more like he wanted to feel like a badass more than he wanted
Yeah,
to
exactly.
actually
Yeah.
hurt someone.
Because like the first thing he says when they ask him why he did it was that he said like she said that she wanted to what was it? She said she wanted to get like what was it? She wanted to do it like she wanted to be physical about it, and it was like that was the first thing you thought of.
He's just clearly stupid and in over his head, and has
Yeah.
access to things he shouldn't have access to. I mean, they all do, but him especially.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it just kind of shows like every time he does something stupid, like beating up the football kid, threatening the prostitute and his cousin, like it's just like ways of exercising power. But yeah, like as soon as he actually partakes in an actual murder of a person, like he can't barely hold himself together. Like he tries to kill himself because of the part he played in Steve's death. And it just shows you like he is the most childish. He's like the most immature because he doesn't really fully contemplate like what he's doing. He just does it because like for at the moment it felt good, and he feels good to like exercise your power over somebody else. But then you do something like actual like horrible to the point where it's impossible to take it back. Like that's when he like mentally falls apart and he can't hold it together. And it's really sad because like yeah, like even at the end, like he still shows that he was a kid because he can't even kill himself alone. He has to at least have someone nearby, and that's why he called Han. And it's really, really sad. And it's really sad to see Han like that devastated. And Derek made that like really, really just out of nowhere comment. Yeah, like it's really sad. It's really sad to see him just to terms not exposed because Virgil wasn't really exposed, but it was just kind of like showing that he was a kid, a kid who was really in over his head and doing things that he really should have, and it really showed at the end. And it's a tragedy for everybody involved, except Derek. I think Derek's an ass.
I mean, I kind of think arguably by the end of the movie, Ben's the worst person because he actively is the main guy to murder Steve.
Oh yeah.
Shows kind of the least remorse, and then it ends with him driving off with Steve's girlfriend, who he's just like, I don't know what happened to him.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Guess he ghosted you, babe.
Well, yeah, it's like what he said. Like it's impossible to walk back now. Like he just accepted it at that point, and he is not a good person. He is a horrible person. He did at least like try to run away from it. But yeah, like he did something like unforgivable. But Derek really is like, I would say the most quote unquote evil because he really had like no remorse because Steve was technically still alive and he was the one who dealt like the killing blow and he had Virgil hold him back while he snuffed him to death. And then he was the one who threatened to kill the football guy by holding a gun directly to his head in one of his parties. He also is also the ringleader of a lot of these deals, and he's the one who initially enticed Ben and Virgil to partake in like the cheating scandal.
I see what you're saying, but at least in terms of the murder,
Oh
my
yeah, it was
belief.
mostly Steve.
Well, no,
Oh no,
but my belief too
Ben.
is like he is the one who
No,
uses
no,
the
no. Steve was
gasoline
not getting
cloth to
murdered.
when Derek is the one who uses the cloth to like do like the final thing that technically kills Steve. But I think that's like largely a high schooler who, I mean, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, like that was the wrong thing to do, but like perceiving it as like we have no other choice at this point, and arguably I'm putting him out of his misery. I don't believe that I think Ben knew he didn't have to do that. Like, there's no reason that. I think Ben heard the gunshot and ran in, and maybe he started hitting Steve out of like, I heard a gun go off, I'm protecting my friends. But somewhere along the line, he was just trying to murder Steve. Like, there's no.
Oh yeah.
Like you've beat him with the bat several times. You clearly know, you could clearly look around and see no one's been shot.
Well, even then, during that scene, he walks in initially, pauses, sees everything going on, and then decides to swing after the light starts flying around. And the gun, I think at that point, was already away. Like, they had already thrown it by that point. I forget if they did or didn't. Eventually, the gun goes away, but I can't remember if it was before he starts hitting Steve with the bat. But either way, it was like, it definitely from the start to me felt like he wasn't doing it out of like a protection kind of thing. He just was like, I hate Steve.
Well, yeah, I guess like all that jealousy and like, all that jealousy and being like, oh, Stephanie could do better than this guy, just eventually built up to the point where he just murdered him. Yeah, and then like to enforce your point. Like, he hit him once, right? And he was basically like defenseless at that point. Like, all Steve could do was look up to Ben and be like, "You're doing this." He did like a A2 Brute look, and then Ben just started going at him to the point where even Han was telling him to stop. Like, everybody, Han was just telling him to stop. Like, he clearly was going to the point where like it just was clearly it was like a personal vendetta. It wasn't anything to like protect his friends or anything like that. He just wanted to kill Steve.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bummer ending, but I think it's the right one for the movie too.
Oh yeah.
Because I think if anyone comes out of this unscathed, it might like ultimately the message is that these unfair pressures of perfectionism put on these, young adults are only leading down negative ways. Sure, I mean, Ben's probably going to get into an Ivy and he has his girlfriend and all that, but it kind of came at the cost of his soul. Like, ultimately, you have Virgil's never going to be the same. Han's also traumatized. Derek kind of just fucks off, and then Ben's like, whatever, I killed someone. Girlfriend's pretty though. Like, and I think that it kind of is the only ending you can end on that feels sincere to the messaging. Because if there's any kind of justice faced or like real accomplishment made, then it starts to feel like, oh, all that pressure was worth it, and it just isn't.
No, it's kind of like Breaking Bad. Like, you don't like dip your toes and then partake in these various crimes and not come out the other end unscathed.
This really is like a speed run Breaking Bad.
It is.
The cancer.
Yeah, exactly. No, they don't have cancer as an excuse.
And it's all cocaine.
They just have societal pressures as an excuse to do.
And that gets into like we're 65, 66 minutes in, but like we could do it probably another minute. Like, I mean, Breaking Bad, the main thing is the toxic masculinity. I'm sure you could pull a lot of those themes in here too. And I'm sure somebody who knows. Sorry, what'd you say, Sean?
I said, oh yeah.
Oh, I thought something happened. And I'm sure someone who knows better than me about the Asian American experience could tie those two things together. But like, my point is really just, I think this is a really thematically rich movie. Especially I did check, this is Justin Lin's second movie. He co-directed a movie in '97 called, 1 second, Shopping for Fangs. Also had John Cho in it. Don't know anything about that, but it's for someone who's pretty early in their career. I think this is a really impressive movie.
You can obviously tell like it's very low budget. The parties only feature like 10 people, and then also
But
the
the way
fact
they,
that all their
Bigger than
parents are
any party I went
gone,
to in high school.
I was
like
gonna
all their
say the way
parents
that
are
they,
gone. Like it's I think it's just a budget cut because like you can't pay for that many extras.
but also because like
I don't know. I think the
one,
parents is intentional.
I feel like the one I was gonna say, I feel like the parents is
I mean,
intentional.
it makes sense thematically, but I feel like if they had a budget, they will at least show someone, not nobody. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well,
They
even
should
then,
have
I
done
still,
like a like an old cartoon. You see him from the back, you see him from the shoulders up. I mean, shoulders down.
But I
Yeah, they
mean,
could have
if
like a
anything,
Charlie Brown, like a trumpet parent.
if anything, I feel like that was more a thematic thing than a, like, they could get adults, presumably. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I feel like that was a thematic choice. And also because, like, in the end, the parents aren't meant to be a part of the story. Thematically, it is supposed to deal more with the societal pressures and the outward pressures from, their peers, the people in their lives outside of their family units. It's kind of more the point of like that, and how that affects them and then further drives them into this whole, how that indirectly leads them into this whole, like, their whole path that they decide to take. So like, obviously, like, you can tell to some degree that this is done on a budget, on like a lower budget, but I don't think it's in any way that, like, to me it's not noticeable. I've seen things with the same budget that are absolutely garbage.
Yeah,
This is like,
for sure.
this is just it happens to have a low budget, but they used it effectively, and I think no matter
It's
what.
like visually too cheap
Oh yeah,
either.
I'm not saying
Visually, it's
like
impressive in my opinion because it
Oh,
actually
yeah.
has
Sets like it looks like Orange County. Like I don't know if I'm
Absolutely.
assuming they filmed on location. I'm not sure, but it doesn't feel like they're on like they're reusing the same shit or anything.
Oh yeah, like, that's exactly it. Like I'm not saying like it's low budget as in like any kind of insult to like how the movie is made or shot. It's still very well done. I'm just saying like uh there are like certain aspects. Like for me, like the no parents thing did feel like because they had no budgets, but they but it still fits thematically. So then it's not like something that like is a flaw or anything, right? Because it still fits
Yeah.
within the story. So then like it's something that I can like easily overlook because I'm like, I feel like there'll be like somebody there if there's a budget, but like it makes sense thematically. And so like I don't really have like anything against that.
I don't know if they ever planned to have the parents or not, but yeah, you can kind of look at it as like the famous like Jaws was supposed to have the shark in it much more, and they couldn't get it to look right, so that's and had budget, stuff like that. So that's why the shark's barely in Jaws, and the general consensus is that movie would be worse if you saw the shark more. And just for reference, I checked. It says the budget for this movie was $250,000, which is very small. That would still be very small today. That would only be 438,000 roughly. So yeah, this is a very, very small budgeted film for sure, which I think makes it all the more impressive.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's making a movie is hard. Not that I've ever done it, but I mean, I just have the common sense to know that it's difficult.
The fact that any exist is a miracle.
Yeah, and that said, having never had any part in making a film, I'm sure it's much harder than I'm even aware of. So then, I mean, you see all these fucking movies that come out. Most movies you see in theaters have fucking at least 7-figure budgets. So to get this done with under $500,000 and have a good, well-formed, well thought out movie that's easy to watch and easy to follow is impressive.
I've got an idea for a movie we could do for less, Jason, if you don't mind having a.
We can do that with just my phone camera, baby.
Shot on an iPhone.
You guys are just like Sean Baker. cinematography will be just as good. So, I mean, I guess if unless anyone has anything else to add, you guys want to go to final thoughts?
Sure.
Cool. I myself, I definitely recommend it. If you like Fast and you haven't seen this, add it. If you're thinking about going through Fast for the first time, include it. It's just a really good movie, and it does provide, from the Fast point of view, it does provide some cool background for Han that I think adds layers to his character later in the stories, in the franchise. Outside of that, though, since this was originally just made as a movie, I also recommend it. This is like kind of low key one of my favorite movies. When I don't always remember it, but every time I see it, I'm like, man, this is really good, and it always hits just as strong for me. I think it's really, really impressive for the early work for Lin. Least favorite, I do think Justin Lin, especially throughout the Fast franchise, really develops as a director and adds a lot of flair. So in a sense, I would wonder if a movie like this, of this scale today, if he worked on something like this that was just a personal drama, I would be really interested to see how it looked. That said, while that could be perceived as a weakness with the inexperience, I think ultimately it's also kind of a strength, because it makes the movie, I think, visually is kind of raw, and it makes it feel very personal to all the people involved.
I 100%
my favorite thing is probably the cast as a whole, but Jason Tobin as Virgil is definitely the scene stealer. But Sung Kang as Han is always great as well. There's a reason he got brought back for a big franchise later on. But yeah, I mean, the point is no matter kind of where you fall on the spectrum in Fast, it's irrelevant. This is just a great movie, and you should watch it on its own.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I definitely recommend it. I think if you like the Fast movies, it definitely, like we said at the top, it's completely different in tone and content and the type of movie it is, but again, like I said, does have a similar style of humor, I'd say. So I do think if you find those movies entertaining and funny, you'll probably enjoy this one. And it has a bit more of a plot and story than Fast and Furious movies. So if you're not into Fast and Furious movies, you might also actually enjoy this one. So that said, I think my least favorite thing is tough to say, because I mean it's tough. It doesn't bite off more than it can chew, you know. It doesn't try to be anything it's not. It's really good at what it is. So it's tough to say what my least favorite thing is. I think just in general, I'm not a huge fan of like narration in movies. Like, that's just like a personal preference in things. But like, I don't know, it does fit well in this movie. Like, it's not a huge gripe. If anything, like, it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes it bothers me in movies, and this was kind of a case of that, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nitpicky, but I can't really think of anything else. And my favorite thing is, like Jake mentioned, it being raw. I really like, this was I think you mentioned that this was Lin's first directorial debut, his first movie. So, I like seeing the early work of people and seeing kind of their early ideas. Same reason I love Bottle Rocket, Wes Anderson's first movie. I just like seeing the bare bones of where they came from, and I think this is a great movie that just kind of feels like that. It feels like someone just having an idea and putting it out without any pressure from studios or just being part of the industry. I think that can affect people's art, and I think breaking it down and seeing the original shit that they do can be interesting.
The thing that's a fun little fact that I did find funny that has to do with the funding of this movie is that a majority of it was funded by MC Hammer.
That's incredible.
What?
I saw that.
Apparently,
Is there any context, like how he ended up funding this?
from what I understand, it was that Justin. I think it was Justin Lin happened to be friends with him, and he told him about that he was making the movie, and he didn't have the money to continue.
I have money.
He needed like the funding for it, and then MC Hammer came through and gave him the money in like a couple of hours after he asked for it.
That's even better. I double recommend it now.
Right.
Triple.
Which is why apparently
Watch it twice.
MC Hammer is credited as a producer on the film.
How did I not know this? I'm such a fake fan.
Shout out MC Hammer, man. Damn.
Hey, how about you other two?
I would say I recommend it as well. I like how simple it is. I love how contained it is. Even the low budget does work in its favor because it feels very personal. It feels very raw. And it's a very self-contained story. I like it a lot. Yeah, I was very much in agreement with Jason in terms of like, if I could find a negative, it would be like the narration, because I feel like the story is strong enough where you can just, show more than you could tell. But like, it's not bad. Like, it's definitely not bad. And definitely doesn't feel like out of place or anything. And it's definitely in cases where the narration surely like works in its favor, like especially that intro. But yeah, that's like the only thing really bad thing I could really say about it. It's like it definitely could have, leaned more into its strengths instead of, relying on tools that at least I think were like more common at the time, like super cliched narration. But like, it's not bad. It definitely could be worse. It could be like the Blade Runner re-release of Harrison Ford just sounding super bored as he's narrating all the scenes. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's probably one of the 30 different editions of Blade Runner that released, and it's horrible. So don't watch it.
I've never seen Blade Runner, so
you are pretty horrible, Matt.
So are you. So I would recommend watching Blade Runner. It definitely hasn't aged well, except for like the last.
That's just recommended other shit.
I know, but I brought it up, so I had to talk about it. I would recommend watching Blade Runner. I always say like it's just beautiful shots, except for like the last like 10 minutes where it's like actually good. But its sequel's pretty good. But yeah, back to Better Luck Tomorrow. Better Luck Tomorrow is a very good movie. I recommend that one as well.
Wait, quick side note about Blade Runner. Is that Ridley Scott, or did I make that up?
Ridley Scott, yes, you're
It's
right.
Ridley Scott.
Okay.
Yes.
Didn't even know did the sequel, Better Runner 2049, which is better.
It's significantly better. It actually has a story. It's not like Ridley Scott, like it's not like Ridley Scott like vision gasming all over you for like 2 hours.
I believe Blade Runner is the first R-rated movie that my mom snuck into, and she always says that she regretted it so much because she hated it.
That sounds like Blade Runner.
I'm not a big fan of the original, but for her, that seems like the opposite of a movie that mom would like.
I'm almost positive that that's the movie that she was like.
Last thing about Blade Runner. I promise. I'll move on after this. But the great thing about Blade Runner, the original, is the Tears in Rain monologue. Like, that's incredible, and I won't hear anything otherwise. But besides that, you can say it's crap because it arguably is.
Yeah, I think Matt's
takes,
crap.
At the 11th hour, but what does Sean think about Better Luck Tomorrow? And sure, Blade Runner if you want.
I'm not fucking doing that. So we're talking about Better Luck Tomorrow. I give Better Luck Tomorrow a good recommendation, not as a Fast and Furious movie, but just as its own movie too, because it's just it. This movie I always think of when I think of like a movie that has good comedy that naturally fits in with the like what's going on, and it like manages to keep like a good comedic tone throughout while still talking about something very dark and serious to a degree. So like I think the thing that I like the most is how like this movie can have genuine moments of just being really funny in like these terrible ways of Virgil is still my favorite character because he provides a good portion of the comedy in this movie for me, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
I've only
shoot him in the face. Shoot him in the face.
Yeah, shoot him in the face. And just fucking flipping the gun around every single chance he gets is so funny. In terms of things like I don't like, there isn't really a whole lot. Like the whole movie's solid to me. I guess like the two things that I don't really like is going back to the beginning and knowing how this ends. I'm confused as to, I assume that like the beginning part is some sort of a dream or something, because it's just it's Virgil and Ben after like digging up a dead body, which Virgil's in the hospital at the end of the movie.
No, this is the next morning after they find the body. The next morning after Virgil then shoots himself later.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. God.
And then after finding the body and then contemplating like his role in it.
I guess I shouldn't say. I guess it's finding the phone.
Finding the
body
phone,
was there.
They knew the body was there. I guess like it just never clicked for me at what point in time that takes place. So I guess that's an on me thing than it is something that I didn't. I was confused by.
I could see how that could be confusing because you're kind of with the non-linear.
But I think the other thing I didn't like is that in the beginning, the movie has a pretty snappy and pretty interesting editing style going on with like the way that they have like the text show up on the screen when you have Ben reading off like when he's reading off the each word to himself in the morning, and they're like pretty snappy about showing everything. And I think that this has nothing to do with the pacing at all, so I want to make that clear too. But like midway through, they throw that kind of editing style out a little bit and go to a more like, obviously they're focusing more on like the story and these elongated scenes, which is what's supposed to be happening, and it fits perfectly fine, and it's the pacing that they're going for. It's just that I kind of wish that they kept some of that a little bit too, because it seems like there are places where it could have fit, but also like it just seems to me somewhat out of place in the beginning, not in a particularly bad way, just that like it feels like there are two different parts of this being like act one of the movie and this being act two, to the point where like act one to me has such a almost different tone, and I know that's because it's starting from the top and everything goes downhill from there. So it makes sense originally. It's just that like that snappy sort of editing goes away, and I kind of wonder if that might have been a budget thing too. Like that I could see, especially with like the way that they do the on-screen graphics and everything like that, which they don't do past like the first act. It just makes me curious if there is like a reason behind that otherwise. And really that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the film at all. I still love this movie.
As everybody.
All right, that is 4 for 4 again, 2 in a row. And with that, we'll say thank you to ALOFET, ALOFETT, for the podcast artwork. Thank you to our Jason for the podcast music.
I'm Jason.
Yay!
I'm Jason. I did the podcast music. I'm in a band. I drum. Faraday, PA. Wait, is that the Instagram? Hold up. Pause.
One of these days you'll have it down.
No, because I just don't know if it's Faraday Band or... Hold up. Yeah, Faraday Band, PA is the Instagram there. So follow that. We're working on recording our demo. We got some songs written, a few songs written.
Wow, Casey
yeah.
Farley written his song?
Casey's written several songs. It's just that he... we don't have to get into it.
Did you have more to plug?
And the Upsides on SoundCloud, that's taken a side seat at the time, but I'll put things on there at some point. We're getting there. I'm a busy guy.
All
Exactly.
right.
Don't you know he's in a band?
Well, fuck you, man. Follow Culture Illiterate on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to Culture Illiterate Podcast on YouTube. Follow at illiterate_pod. That's our Blue Sky. That's our Instagram. If we have a social media, that's our @ until we say otherwise. Email us at cultureilliteratepod@gmail.com. Send us questions, send us comments, leave reviews on the apps. We are covering the next main installment of Fast and Furious next episode, a direct sequel to the first movie with the wonderfully named Too Fast, Too Furious.
Bye. Fuck Twitter.